And we're live, baby. Welcome to the Pardon My Jerk podcast, the only CrossFit podcast out there with two guys that actually know anything about other sports. So today, we are going to dig into the Granite Games semifinal. But first, we have news. Say what's up, Dunk.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing?
So, yeah. You want to dive into news first? Or you want to do the Granite Games first?
Let's do the news. Let's get the news out of the way.
Cool. So, in a past couple months where we were pretty starved for the needle sort of moving on the news front at all, suddenly it's just been like a fire hose of stuff coming out, and like I'm kind of like just trying to prioritize the big ones, you know. So a couple things that come out. I didn't talk about it last week on the solo pod, so there's a few things I want to mention. First and foremost, one of the things that has come out in recent weeks is CrossFit bumped up the prize purse for the games. An article released by Morning Chalk Up gave us a reflection on what we saw. Immediate takeaways, Dunk, upon checking that out.
I mean, they didn't really do much. Like they threw out the big number to kind of catch everybody's attention, but like none of the actual money for the athletes winning like changed much. Like it was a couple thousand for each of the top five. Was it each of the top five that got a little bit of a bump?
So 1 through 20 all got pay bumps.
Okay.
As a total, it was like a grand total of about an 8% pay bump. First place went from 300 to 310,000. I'm not 100% sure what that accomplished besides like accommodating inflation after COVID. And then pretty much everyone from like 2 to 10 got like a $5,000 pay bump. And then like 11 to 20, it's a mixed bag. It got less and less as the numbers went down.
I would have preferred for them to take like the bumps that they gave each athlete and then just give that to like the rest of the athletes that are at the games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. There's so many better ways I think they could have done. I don't think anybody was like saying I won the games and didn't get enough money.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm sure no one's complaining, but I think if you polled every athlete not named Matt Fraser or Tia Toomey, and they were saying, well, we can give a significant pay bump to the top 10 and a minuscule pay bump to 10 through 20 and dog shit to 21 through 40.
Right.
Or we can just pay everybody and not give anyone a raise in the top 20. What would you want?
Yeah, like, I think it'd be unanimous that everybody would want to get paid.
Right. And they easily, with the money they put out, so it's like, it was, I mean, think about it, if you're averaging 5,000 for 1 through 20, what's 20 times 5? That's like $100,000.
Yeah. Something
like that. And that's just, like, you could just take that and divvy that out among 21 through 40. We talked about this. I personally didn't have a major issue with the payouts that they gave to athletes at the semifinals. I understand people's gripe with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a gripe with it. I just thought that payout is appropriate. Because in my opinion, if you're in the semifinals, you are semi-professional. So we're going to pay some people, but not everybody's going to get a massive pay bump. I liken it to the PGA Tour. Like, if you're not in the top 150 on the PGA Tour, you're paying to get in the top 150. That's just how it works. You know, in my opinion, once you've made it to the CrossFit Games, the big show, you are a professional athlete and you deserve to be compensated as such.
I agree. I think they need to do something though, as far as for the semifinals. Like, they're making a lot of these athletes fly halfway across the world to go to certain events, with the exception of a few names. So like these are thousands of dollars they're spending just to get to the competition. Like, I think there needs to be something figured out there.
If nothing else, I think it would be completely fair, a fair expectation of CrossFit to be like, listen, guys, just rent out the local Hilton for us. Like, at least just give them all one organized place that they can stay in and front that, you know, like, and the fact that at the CrossFit Games, people are paying for Airbnbs, that's ridiculous to me.
I agree.
Like when you talk about like, oh, in 2016 they had to go to Aromas, and I don't know, I don't know, but I've heard like athletes are staying in Airbnbs and stuff. It's like, so they have to be on a flight at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they're not all in the same place.
Yeah, that's bizarre to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. I personally, when you're not at the professional level, I don't have an issue with someone having to pay their way in to get into that point. But I just think it's ridiculous that you can go to the CrossFit Games, have to pay all the travel fees, pay for the food, pay for the hotel, train your ass off year round as a full-time job to get to that point, and still walk away losing money, you know?
Yeah, I don't understand their thought process on it's like, all right, you need to travel back to your home country. It's like, all right, if you live somewhere, just let them compete in that area. You know, like if you've been there for a while, like I don't see the reason for making people go back to like back home.
There were, well, it might have been COVID protocol type stuff, but there were people that got to stay where they were at.
Yeah, but that was only because of COVID stuff. They would have made them like Tia would have had to fly back to Australia if like Australia wasn't on complete shutdown.
And then have to come back to the United States.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is like, what does it matter if let's I know Jacob Hebner made a joke about moving to Madagascar back in the day. Like, what does it matter if he moves to like South Africa? If he moves there, he moves there. He has to live there for a year. Let's make that a rule. You have to live there for an entire year.
Or it's like joke's on you, man. You live in Madagascar now.
Yeah. Like that's their decision. Like, but don't make them fly halfway across the world.
It's that important for you to go to the CrossFit Games where you just had to pay the plane ticket and to pay to get a place there and like move all your shit there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay, you made it. And as we've established, there's a good chance you're not even gonna get paid to go to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. So like I said, I've got an issue with some of their rules on like where you can compete and where you can't compete. But
yeah, I'd be interested to hear their justification on that. Like, yeah, why at this point, why does Katrin need to go back to Europe? The only thing I would think of, the only justification that is kind of jumping to my mind is just competitive balance. In the sense, like, you know, we don't like most of the highest level athletes tend to congregate in the United States and Canada. So it's like, you know, Sam Briggs spends a ton of time in the United States. Kristen Holta spends a lot of time in the United States. Katrin Davidsdottir lives in the United States. Tia lives in the United States. So now all of a sudden, these North American semis just overrun, you know? Yeah. And now we have good athletes that are going to be outside looking in as far as getting into the games.
That's a good point.
That would be my only justification I can really think of on it. And I think it's somewhat flimsy, but
yeah, I don't know. That's a good reason to like make people do all that, but
right. But it's like crazy. You think these, with all the sponsors these people have, like you would think the sponsors maybe would jump in to kind of take care of some of that, you know?
You would think, and maybe they do. Maybe some of these athletes don't have to pay for anything. It's like maybe Tia would never have even had to pay any part of the plane ticket over there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think a lot of athletes too, it's like they want to say they're sponsored athletes, but it's like getting a free couple of vials of CBD oil because you made some Instagram post doesn't. Maybe you're not
right
a professional athlete yet, but I don't know. That's just speculate. That's how it used to be back in the day. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but yeah, there's a lot of people back like years ago. It'd be like, oh, I'm a sponsored athlete. It's like, yeah, somebody gives you free T-shirts. So
yeah, you wear their T-shirt and post it on Instagram, and you get a few free ones. That doesn't count. You're an ambassador at that point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, sure. Would it be great to see like those semifinals go like first place gets 10, second gets 9, third gets 8?
I think it's going to change from year to year though, because with the new regime, it seems like they're in on like trying to gain like big sponsors. So like, oh yeah, they've only been around for a short period of time at this point. So who's to say next year they don't have like some big time sponsors and they can give huge payouts or much larger payouts to the bottom of the field.
I mean, they already do. What was the Granite Games? They kept saying it's brought to you by, what was it, Ram Trucks or something like that? Or
yeah.
This weekend, like I have a suspicion that I think when the new regime took over, they extended themselves financially very far. Like you kept seeing like, oh, we're doing the scholarships, we're going to do this. The L1s significantly dropped off, right? The CrossFit training stuff felt, I would imagine, decreased significantly because of COVID. We were seeing all these sort of resources and people reaching out to help affiliates despite the number of affiliates decreasing. I would imagine their revenue, we saw a pretty significant decrease in revenue. And just from information that I have, CrossFit is putting a significant emphasis on finding more partnerships for the games. So I think that they're just kind of banking money and recouping money a little bit for the time being. They've got legit, real deal partners that they're dealing with, and
Yeah,
I see no reason why that won't increase.
Yeah, I think going forward they're in good shape as far as that goes. I think it's just going to take some time to get to the point where they're going to be paying their athletes like the PGA Tour does.
Right, and I think it's to a degree. It's like let's just take a year, see what we're going to make with this. Give us another year to kind of figure out what the hell we're doing here, because a year ago this time we didn't even know what we were going to do, and we were preparing to have 5 people on each side doing it on a farm. So there is going to be sort of a bounce back year. It's definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we just dealt with a year of COVID, and then right prior to that, like we had the Glassman issue, and we weren't even like the top athletes were dropping out of CrossFit at that point. So it's like within the span of like a year and a half, a lot has gone on. So like just give it a little bit of time for them to kind of get their footing and get going back in the right direction.
Right. And speaking of which, so all these stories are sort of connected in different ways, but also in the news this week, or the last 2 weeks, I can't keep track, but we saw CrossFit dumped Assault Fitness as an advertising partner. I don't know if there's any information as to why or what caused that. What do you think the reasoning was behind that? Do you think there's foul play afoot?
No, I think that they just like, other than the assault bike, what were they using that was involved with Assault Fitness?
Assault Runner.
Okay, yeah, but everybody makes those now.
Yeah, well,
so like the Rogue Echo bike is a better piece of equipment. It's a more durable piece of equipment than the assault bike.
Yep.
Fine.
Yep.
You can get that at the games, and then the Assault Runner, you can get it at any fitness company now. They're all selling that kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, the Assault Runner is I've never actually used an Echo bike in a workout before, but from what I've gathered, the Echo bike, by all accounts, is a superior, more durable piece of equipment.
They're different machines. Like the Echo bike is bigger and bulkier. Like it's definitely a different workout.
Yeah,
it's definitely a different workout. But I mean,
probably to a degree, they're like, it's kind of a superfluous partner. It's like, well, why are we encroaching upon Rogue, who's done so much for us? They now can use the True Form Runner, who's a separate partner that they can partner with. But did you hear about this thing? Like there's like a cease and desist order out on people making self-powered runners.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to get it too far because I don't know a ton of information about it, so I don't want to mess it up too much. But there's another company, I guess, that invented like runners like that, and I think they put out a cease and desist order to like True Form or Assaults or somebody like that, to like, please stop, like under penalty of law, like you need to stop making these.
To Assault Fitness or the other company that you
True Form. I don't know. I know. So there's that. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. And then years ago, when I read Castro's book he did on behind the scenes at the games. Do you remember this story with? It might have been Assault. It might have been Assault. It could have been True Form, but I think it was Assault. They came out with the Assault Runner, and nobody had access to it yet, and they put it in at regionals that year. I hope I'm not wrong on this. I hope it's not the True Form. I hope I'm not telling this wrong story. This is a whole long-winded waste of time, but They came out with the assault runner that year. Castro goes to the guy from assault and says, hey, do me a favor. We're going to do this at regionals. We're going to unveil this at regionals. We're going to like pump it all up, brand new piece of equipment. No one's ever seen this before. No one's ever used this before. And, but we don't want any of the athletes to have ever had the opportunity to practice on it. And the guy from assault was like, oh yeah, no problem. Let's do that. And then like a week later, Castro's scrolling through Instagram and Lauren Fisher is running on an assault runner. And according to Castro in his book, he was pissed.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
He was really pissed.
I don't know why he thought though that like something they weren't going to get that out to somebody.
Right. And then it was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 other people got like Lauren's an Invictus athlete. She might have been in Dubai at the time. I think she might have been in Dubai at that point. But it's like, regardless, it's like send it to Invictus and you have 10 games athletes are going to use it, or send it to Dubai and you have 10 games athletes that are going to have access to it. So it ended up being like a handful of other athletes had access to the assault runner before regionals, and Castro was really pissed about it.
I mean,
that just might have come into play on the decision.
That might have, yeah. I don't know. I get why he'd be upset about it, but it's like, what do they expect?
Right. So and then the final piece of news I want to talk about before we dive into some G games is CrossFit re-upped their deal with CBS.
I think this is I don't know how they're going to work with it on like the live TV, but I think CBS has a pretty good like sports app that like you can stream stuff on. I think that they could organize it pretty well to where it's an easy watch for like just kind of the general public instead of basically just watching like a track meet, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this is pretty good for them. I'm not sure how they're going to air it or what they're going to do with it, but I think this is a pretty big thing.
So I read the Chalk Up article on it, and I agree with you. I think this is a good platform. I don't think we're going to see it this year, but I think this is a spectacular sort of jumping off point of a platform to sort of build a sport on. So I saw it was like they're going to show like the finals on Sunday, like that's going to be a live feed type thing. I don't know if it's going to be on cable TV or not. It might just be on the CBS Sports app, like the 18 games were. And then I think I saw like 6 or 8 hours of like highlights throughout the weekend. But it's also going to be streamed on Paramount Plus. And the fact that even if it's not on CBS Live, which would be awesome, but the fact that they're going to be putting on those apps, I think is awesome because of like what we talked about before, with how that opens you up to like, if you really wanted to, you could watch the games a la carte and not really have to sit there through 10 minutes of commercials for like resets.
You know? I mean, if they've got a media person that knows what they're doing, it's like they're going to label the thing, like each thing. It's like, all right, here's the final heat, or like here, like they're going to let you know, like these are the athletes you want to watch, kind of deal.
Right. There's that. I mean, you could honestly, I think they did this previously or something like this, where we can, if I'm watching the games on Saturday and I'm like, oh, that was really cool, they can have a whole playlist of all the previous events that you missed. Right. So if the average lay person who's never watched the CrossFit Games before sees them doing an event, they're like, well, this is interesting. They can go back to day one and watch those events and again, just sort of pick and choose what they want to see.
Like they can get lost in a little rabbit hole and then just kind of gain interest in it just because they saw one event and now they can watch all of them.
Right. So I think it's spectacular. I think anytime you have a major, I mean, you really don't get a much more major partner in something like this than CBS. The fact that the foot is in the door at this point, I think this is spectacular, and probably would be a good thing for us to lead off with, because we were talking about how athletes need to be paid more money. Again, it's simple economics. The reason that the NBA can pay guys $30 million a year is because they have a ridiculous several ridiculous TV contracts. That's what's paying people's salaries.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So the more people that watch, the more people are going to get paid.
Yeah. And CBS was on board with the CrossFit Games the year that they did a marathon row. So it seems like they're pretty loyal partners.
Yeah. If they can manage to get through that, then they're in good shape.
Yeah, I honestly I can't say enough good things about it. I think it's spectacular news. It was such a great jumping off point, and it seemed like it was pretty low key. You didn't really see a lot about it on social media.
Yeah, it didn't blow up like you would think it would.
Yeah,
Not, at
if
least
I'm
not in the corners that we follow.
if I'm an athlete, I'm over the moon. Like
Right.
the fact that you have the opportunity to be on live TV. When was the last time CrossFit was on live TV?
It's been a while.
That wasn't YouTube.
Right.
You know, by the way, it will still be streamed on YouTube, will still be streamed on the game site, will still be streamed on Facebook. So I will probably watch it on YouTube. I think it's just the best platform for it.
Let's hope that Facebook figures it out, because I don't think I've ever watched a good Facebook stream of any CrossFit event.
No, Facebook's horrible. I'm not even touching Facebook.
It's terrible. I don't understand.
Yeah, 17 was a disaster. Remember, I think it was in 2017. That was the only stream they had was on Facebook. It was just
it was
so bad. But even just these semifinals being on YouTube, this has to be pretty lucrative for CrossFit. Like,
yeah.
I'm interested to know. Maybe not. I don't know. That might be just over speculating, but it seems like it could be. You know, especially with these event organizers, it seems like they're doing a lot of the legwork with some support from CrossFit. I think what we've seen with the semifinals so far has been a rousing success.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
You know, I thought it was interesting. So I was at an Airbnb this weekend, got in late Friday night. It's just me at the Airbnb. I'm alone, and they had a Roku TV. I hit YouTube. I want to catch the end of day one of the Granite Games. So I go to YouTube. I just type in day one on YouTube on somebody else's Roku, not my own, complete strangers. And as soon as I type in day one, the first thing, I don't even know if I got the one, I just typed in day. The first thing that comes up, day one, Granite Games, CrossFit.
That's pretty impressive. It's just
being
searched.
Right. Like there must be some traffic being generated there. So
right.
So perfect segue. That's professionalism in podcasting, my friend. So
killing it.
It took me about 35 episodes, but I managed to get to mediocre. Let's talk about Granite Games. So I caught up on everything. I pretty much watched everything. I watched all the final heats to be informed enough on this. We can go event by event, and we can give your quick sort of takeaways, and you know, I'll feed off you. But what were your immediate sort of takeaways from this weekend?
Immediate takeaways is I did not like the programming at all. I thought it was hot garbage. There was no long events. It was all quick. It was all relatively quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, and we've already talked about how much we're over watching people snatch. So
yeah,
I didn't like the events. I didn't like the events, and I really wasn't impressed by very many of the athletes.
Yeah, it's fair.
So,
Mal O'Brien definitely picked the right event.
Yes.
To.
Well, yeah. So I'm watching it, and like I'm watching the first day, she's crushing it. I'm watching the second day, she's crushing it, and then we get to the third day, and I'm like, she's just gonna run away with everything, and like she could be a factor. But then like those last two events, she just kind of was there. And I'm like, if there were some of like top level games athletes here, they would have mopped the floor with everyone at this event.
Ooh, hot take there. Here's the thing. She crushed. I mean, she was okay. She was decent on the snatch. I mean, if you put her snatch numbers in MAC, she's like upper middle of the pack, essentially. She snatched the same thing as Haley Adams.
Yeah.
You know, the Metcons right in the middle there, she blew out of the water. But I think, wasn't it like in the final event, didn't she get like a tough judge call on those lunges or something like that?
No, that was Emma Carey.
I know Emma Carey was getting hammered by her judge. Or is it Mal just like she dumped the bells like on the last rep or something?
No, that was Carey. At Mal O'Brien, she had just a rookie mistake. She like was lunging, she was going, and then she got halfway through the last set of lunges, and just drop the weights. So
Okay.
like she like it's like she kept going. She knew she wasn't going to make it, but instead of just stopping, she like kind of got caught up in everything and tried to finish it out. She knew she wasn't going to.
But didn't it have to, it had to be unbroken, didn't it? Like it had to be in unbroken sections.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like she knew she wasn't gonna. I feel like in her head she knew she wasn't making it, but got caught up. Tried to just see if she could get there. Got halfway through and had to go all the way back to that start of the third set and kind of pushed through. But yeah, Emma Carey, her judge was not favorable on that.
Yeah, that guy was just like, I don't give a shit how old you are. You are earning this.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think the field as a whole was kind of weak on both sides. This is definitely I think the softest North American semifinal.
but I think by
both
like
sides.
a wide margin. A wide
Right.
margin.
West Coast Classic, especially on the female side, we'll talk about it when we get there. But that female side of West Coast Classic is loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded. That's going to be a real tough one. But programming, the thing you mentioned the programming. They were like, it was like the exact opposite of MAC. Whereas like MAC, from like a 30,000 foot view on the programming, I thought it was an effective test. But on an event by event basis, I'm like, I find none of these entertaining. Whereas I found each individual event at Granite Games to be an entertaining watch and like a good event in a vacuum. But when you step back and you look at all 7 of their events, you're like, this is not an appropriate test to get someone to the games.
It's just not how you program a competition. Like they're all kind of doing the same thing, minus the heavy work.
But it was like every event was pretty much every event was heavy. There wasn't really, and like I think there is some validity to this argument where people are like, people are going to go to the games. Like there was the one running event at MAC, which was I think a good event, but like people are going to go to the games from the Granite Games, and all they've ever done in terms of running is some 200 meters on a football field.
Yeah.
Whereas when we go to the games, how many times have we seen like 5 of the first 7 events involve running in some way? Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't like that.
I feel like it's pretty common knowledge at this point. Like if you're going to do one of these competitions, you've got to have some sort of long endurance event to make it kind of valid.
Right.
You got to check, like we talked before, check the boxes, you know?
Right. And they looked at their endurance event as that 13-minute cap one and the 6-minute cap one, even though nobody that mattered was going anywhere near that cap.
Right.
You know, yeah. And side note, I was going to talk about this when we talked about assault being dumped as a partner. It looks like they struck some kind of deal with Torque, this Torque tank company, or like Rogue owns them or something like that. They're really trying to be like forward facing with this Torque tank company. I like the implement. I was gonna buy one, but so far not going well for Torque tank. Oh. Like every time they do a Torque tank event, they interview people when they come off the field, and they're like asking like, "What'd you think of that Torque tank?" And they're like, "It wasn't that bad."
I mean, if it wasn't that bad, everybody went so slow on it though. So if it wasn't that bad, then they should have gone faster.
So the reason for that, so Travis Mayer was talking about this. So Travis Mayer, he goes, yeah, there's no reason to go fast on the Torque tank. He's like, because the way those things work is the harder you push them, the more resistance you get from them. So he's like, there's no reason to go fast. He said this like publicly on Sevon's podcast. So he's like, there's no reason to really go fast because you're not going to be rewarded for it. So just settle into your pace so you don't kill yourself and then go fast on the other stuff.
I didn't know that. That to me is a flaw in the piece of equipment, or at least not to have the option to turn it off for like events. Like, yeah, cool. If I want to go do that in your yard, great. Make it harder the harder you go. But like, if you want people to go fast on this thing, be able to turn off the resistance to a certain degree, or have a cap on it. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for that, because I think it'd be a really great piece of equipment like for your gym. I like how it's universally standardized. You don't need to worry about someone getting a slick track for the sled.
Yeah.
Like somebody got like a good track to push the sled on, so they have an advantage. So that's a good thing. I don't know how I feel about those things.
I feel like this is like CrossFit's answer to all the complaints that people have had over the last few years for that reason.
Right.
You know,
It's certainly a possibility. They're cool pieces of equipment. I like them. There's something about a sled though when you can see all the weight on them.
yeah.
So you can look at it and be like,
cool.
oh, I have somewhat of an idea of how miserable they are right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
when they're just dragging some piece of metal on wheels, it's like, why is this so hard?
yeah. What about the men's side? Any impressions on the men's side?
Yeah. Not impressed with Chandler Smith.
His snatch was impressive.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's too heavy. Like he looks thick. But no, like his snatch, his heavy work was good. Like the snatch looked really good. Like it was good. But like he didn't have any kind of like push or like I don't know. He looked like he was just there. He was going to do the workout at his pace. It didn't matter where he finished. I just wasn't impressed with how he kind of approached the weekend. He looked gassed on multiple occasions.
Yeah. It looked very Sager-like. No, I'm just going to stay relaxed. I'm going to run my race, and that's fine. And then like I think he's lucky that field was pretty soft, because I think there's another way that story goes where on Sunday he's in 6th place and having to fight his way in there.
I agree. Yeah.
But he came out Sunday. I liked him I think he looked pretty solid on Sunday, when like I think you were seeing some people sort of break down in that heat, and it was hurting them more. I think he was looking pretty strong. But yeah, I agree with you. He was, I don't know, he didn't look quite ready yet, or maybe the heat was impacting him. He's been training up in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and so I might just be putting him on like a certain pedestal. Like I kind of wanted him to step up and be like that next guy to like really push for number one, and he probably still will. It just doesn't look the same as what we're used to seeing for like the top guys.
Right now, and you had so Saxon Panchik wins the whole thing. Did not take first place in a single event.
I was impressed by him just because he was steady the whole weekend. Like he was in his groove. He was at the top pretty much in every event. So I was impressed by him.
He's a miniature version of Scott, man.
Yeah, no,
he's
very, very right.
Scott is pretty much good at everything. Saxon is pretty much good at everything, just not as good as Scott. So I guess you could say he was impressive. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do. As far as Saxon goes. Who took second place?
Chandler.
And then I thought Chandler took third. Who took third then?
Tim Paulson.
So third place.
Sunday lined up well for Tim Paulson.
Yeah, no shit. And yeah, he got a couple of workouts that he just blew out of the water.
Because in my opinion, there's no reason at any semifinal event a person that has an 18th place finish should finish in third place.
Right. Yeah, this one had more parity in terms of like the top fit. Like when you watch Mac, it was like the same guys were finishing, and women too, were finishing like just shuffle 1 through 7th place.
Yeah.
Whereas like there was a lot more parity in there was a lot more parity in the Granite Games. And I'm trying to bring it up right now because for some reason my memory is failing me. And then 4th place was who?
Roy Gamboa.
Yeah, I mean, another one. He's a power athlete, so it totally makes sense. Like Roy Gamboa and Tim Paulson picked the right sanctional to go to, because, again, if you put either of them, I think in West Coast or MAC, they're not making it. I'm not 100% sure they qualify for the last chance qualifier if you put them in MAC or West Coast Classic.
Yeah, I agree. I just wasn't impressed by very many. I was impressed by Colton Mertens, though. That dude, little firecracker. He is the male version. He is the male version of Kerry Pierce.
Get the fuck out of here. Okay, first of all, that dude is listed as 5'4" on the CrossFit Games site. I think that is a generous estimate of that man's height. Because, like,
yeah, I agree.
When you watch Josh Bridges, like 5'5", 5'6" out there, he looks like a normal sized person when you watch him on. Matt Fraser, when you watch him, Matt Fraser's like 5'6". When you watch him on the field, you're like, yeah, he looks like a shorter guy. But if you didn't know better, you'd say he was like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
Colton Mertens, I'm like, dude, you might be 5'1". Like
That's dude, because he looks like his limbs are short. Like it's just
yeah.
That dude is strong. Like he didn't have a great snatch, but like I was checking out his Instagram. He deadlifts over 500 pounds. He squats over 500 pounds. He's got a strict press of like 240.
That's fine. I am not a fan of Colton Mertens.
No,
I was
I'm not a fan
actively
of him.
rooting against him.
I'm not a fan of him. I was just impressed by some of the stuff that he did. But I was also on the camp that like the programming just kind of lined up for him.
For sure. And Scott Tetlow was another one, looked extremely impressive for a small athlete.
Ooh,
probably the most jacked little dude I've ever seen in my entire life. Oh my!
He's got the weirdest little body though. He's so like wide and stocky.
Right. Well, he's 5'3". He's listed on the game site as 5'3". But yeah, I wasn't afraid. Like, there's I don't know. There's something endearing about Justin Medeiros having a mullet. And then with Colton Mertens when he have it, I'm like, one's enough. We don't.
No, I think Colton Mertens was just.
Tommy Marquez called it a Canadian passport. He said that on the air, and I was like, "That's incredible."
Gotta love Tommy Marquez. No, Colton Mertens he's just doing too much with that mullet, man. At least Medeiros trims that thing up every once in a while.
Right. But yeah, like Colton Mertens, little full of himself.
Oh yeah, he definitely is.
Little full of himself for my taste. I'm like, bro, I get it. You know, you're hype. You know, you're excited, but you've accomplished nothing yet. You know, and I thought he was better in the Open than he was. He's actually not. I mean, everybody at this level is incredible in the Open, but he's not even a front page guy in the Open. And he goes up there. He won the thruster run event.
Mm-hmm.
They're interviewing him afterwards. Did you see this?
No.
And he's like, well, I did Rogue. I won the last event at Rogue. So if you look back on it, I took first place in 3 of the last 4 in-person events that I've done. I'm like, mazel tov, man. I'm happy for you. Like,
he's gotta pat himself on the back when he can, you know. He's got to do that for himself.
Matt Fraser never said that once in his entire career, and he won like 12
every
out of 13
event. Yeah. Yeah.
That was bananas to me. Yeah, and then like I was genuinely rooting for Mal O'Brien and Emma Carey to go 1-2. I thought that battle was fantastic. Like,
I was definitely rooting for them.
But then Ariel Lowen sneaks in there. Good for her. Awesome. Like, happy for her that she made it. But she is a tiresome individual. He was a bit much.
I didn't see any of the after stuff for her.
You gotta watch the interviews, man. You have to watch. I don't do
the interviews.
Yeah, this is where we get to know them.
I like to think of the athletes how I want to think of them, and then when I hear them talk, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
If you watch the interviews, I think you would agree with me. Like, okay, I don't know if we need the microphone in front of this person's face more than maybe once per competition. But so it went Lowen, O'Brien, Carey,
Pacelli,
and then it was I'm sorry,
Pacelli and Carolyn Connors.
Okay, yeah, Pacelli. I'm glad she came on strong late, because I was looking at the program and it was like Pacelli should blow all of this out of the water.
Day 2 was rough for her.
Yeah, and then I was like, I love Christiana O'Connell. I think she just got a bad dice roll on the programming. I thought she was going to be programming agnostic, but I guess that wasn't the case. The unfortunate thing now is that she is in the last chance qualifier, and I can't imagine anybody in that last chance qualifier beating her.
I don't know though. Like there's a world where you see some pretty good athletes just run into issues like she's got, and like somebody's not going to make it at the West Coast Classic that we all think should.
Right.
So
yeah, but there's 2 spots. As far as I'm concerned, there is now 1 spot available in that last chance qualifier. But we'll see. I mean, that's why they run the race, right?
they made a mistake, and I know that there was a lot of reasons for this, but that last chance qualifier needed to be a live competition.
But there's no
I know
way
you can't.
logistically you could pull
I know
that
you
off.
can't. In the future, they need to figure that out though, because that would be awesome.
That would be really cool. That should just be Dubai, like, or just like Lollapalooza should just be the last chance qualifier.
Dude, no, they need to do that because once the COVID protocols go away, Dubai pays for all the athletes to go to their competition.
Right.
That's been established. Just be like, hey, Dubai, like, hey, we want you to run a competition and we want it to be the last chance qualifier. They might be like, oh, well, we're not going to get any great athletes, but people are going to watch this. Like, at least there's going to be people to watch this thing and be like, watch it through to the end.
The problem for Dubai is it would be a step down in terms of the quality of athlete that they normally get at that thing.
Yeah. That's the only drawback is because they're not going to get the top level athletes that they're used to.
So, all right. So let's talk about the program. So first event was the snatch, right?
Yep.
So what was your takeaway on the snatch?
Anthony Davis is a monster.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing. That was the only reason that event was watchable.
I loved his approach to it. He went into it knowing there's no reason he shouldn't win it. So he hits 295. He's like, all right, that's my number on the board. Hits 315, and he's like, okay, that should win it. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm just going for the record now. Like, that was awesome.
He hits 315. He knows there hasn't been a guy to hit 315 at a live event in a hot minute. Like, I don't even know if there has been. Maybe Garrett Fisher.
He's probably looking at this field, and he's like, well, if Paulson doesn't hit it, no one's going to.
Yeah. I think Chandler Smith might have been able to because he hit that 305 so smooth.
Yeah, it was very clean.
Anyway, he was just like, screw it. And the crazy thing is that 340 was his best looking lift.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that dude's a monster. He's not really great at much else besides being enormous. I mean, he looked like Micah Parsons. But
I think he's just like, oh, I accidentally qualified for this. I'm gonna go do it. Maybe he's getting back into like CrossFit and stuff. I think maybe next year he'll be able to make a little bit more noise when he maybe loses a few lbs.
Yeah, trim down a little bit.
Yeah.
Any takeaways from not much. I think
really not much for the women.
Right. Well, it's this is a tired thing to see, just the 1 rep max snatch. And I didn't like this format of it where two people lifted at once. I'm like, it's very distracting for the lifters. Like, the guy next to them or girl next to them is also lifting at the same time. Like,
I was kind of just confused how they were running. It took me like probably the first heat to kind of figure out how they were doing things. Cause like I didn't watch like the pre-show or anything. So like I'm sitting there, I'm like, how does this work? Like, what are they doing right now?
Yeah.
So
Emma Carey's incredibly impressive with the barbell.
She's the one that she went for 200, right?
Yeah. She hit 200. Mal O'Brien missed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a different way that story goes where Mal O'Brien blows everyone out of the water in that competition.
She finished. All right, I'm going to read you her finishes. 12th, first, 12th, second.
Right. So
she took subpar events.
Right, but if she hits that 200, which she got under, because she just could not, like, she got under the bar, stayed there for like 12 seconds. She just couldn't stand it up. She stands that bar up. That's a totally different story.
That's fourth place.
And the 12th she took, that was on the toes to bar box step over workout.
Hang on one sec. Yeah. It was the wall balls, GHD sit-ups, D-ball cleans. Her and Emma Carey both, I think, struggled with those heavy wall balls.
So they are so fascinating to me in that I think they are just going to be they're going to be the face of the sport for probably the next like 6 years. And I think you're going to see those two battle it out for a long time and really go at it.
My only concern with that is they're still so young and now they're so entrenched in this. I'm worried about burnout, you know?
I don't know, but my thing is I don't think they're going to be super successful when they get to the games, because I think they're just really good at CrossFit. in the sense that it's like when we take them to the games and we throw them in the ocean and tell them to go swim, or throw them in a lake and tell them to go swim. When we throw strongman's fear at them, when we tell them like you have to carry a rescue dummy and then do thick rope like rope climbs. Like I think when you see the athletic requirements and like the amount of like mental agility required to be successful at the games, I think that's going to be what kind of separates them. And you'll see them. I suspect you're going to see some bad events for them.
Yeah, I they're strong. Like, I mean, they're clearly strong with like the snatch and everything. I just don't think that they don't move moderately heavy weight in a workout well yet.
I don't know.
I mean,
I guess we'll have to find
out. They both struggle with a heavy wall ball. And
yeah, I think it's just because they're just smaller. Like the good thing about where they're at is like they're going to keep getting stronger. Like they're going to keep hitting PRs, and like, you know, heavy wall balls are just, I don't know how tall they are, but generally speaking, small athletes have a hard time with heavy wall balls.
Okay, so 5 years from now, who is the face of the women's side?
Mal O'Brien.
I disagree.
If not Emma Carey.
I'm putting my flag in the ground and sticking with Haley Adams.
Nope. I am more entrenched on that opinion than ever. The Emma Carey moves so incredibly well. She is so impressive with the quality of her movement. I think she's just a little bit younger than O'Brien. She just needs to catch up to her. And the fact of the matter is she's already stronger than O'Brien. That Emma Carey is so incredibly impressive.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch them at the games. I think that them being at the games is reason to watch, because I don't think they're going to be in like the final heat. That's reason to watch like the some of the heats prior.
Yeah, I'm watching every heat that they're in.
Yeah.
So number 2, what was event number 2? The thruster run.
Thruster run. I would have loved this workout if they would have flipped the rep scheme. Made the reps go up as they worked through the workout.
I dig that.
Yeah, because I mean, like
50-pound dumbbell thrusters, man, that's absurd.
That is rough. But like you saw, like sometimes that like there was some people that crashed and burned, but like most of the time, if you just got out to a lead and could just kind of hold a pace, you were probably going to be in the top. So, but like if you switch the rep scheme, and
that changes that a lot.
Yeah, if you switch the rep scheme, like then you've got some of these guys that are going to just hit the wall and like just not going to be able to make it through all those thrusters.
Yeah, I
would have liked that way better.
Yeah, I dig that. That's a good point. I was very impressed though with the way some of those guys handled those 70-pound dumbbells, and the women handled those 50-pound dumbbells.
Oh, they all handled it pretty freaking well.
Yeah, that was very impressive to me. Yeah. What was event number 3?
That was the 9-7-5-3 ring muscle ups, hang squat cleans, burpee over bar, and the torque thing.
I loved this workout, but I'm with you. There need to be a slight tweak to it.
I wish that they would have. So with your point of the resistance keeping people from like really selling out, I wish that it would have just been a sled where it's like, let's either see if we can get a James Newberry that's going to finish it in 2 rounds, or is it going to be somebody who kind of just works steady through it and gets through it at a good pace. You know,
that's exactly what we saw at Torian. It was amazing. If you watched it live, Con Porter was like, "Okay, I need to win everything if I'm going to stay alive." And Con Porter's like, "I'm going to go to the darkest place I've ever been in my entire life just to win this." And the torque tank kind of prevented that from happening.
It is more exciting to watch people push so hard that they crash and burn, or they finish and then crash and burn,
right,
than it is to watch people work at like a good pace and like a smart pace.
My only issue with that event was they paid like homage to the 2-2-2-3 interval workout from 17.
Mm-hmm.
They should have just flipped that. It should have been like, I get why they didn't, but it should have been 3-2-2-2, because I didn't understand the point of giving them a whole bunch of extra time when the rep scheme was 3-3-3.
Yeah.
But like, let's give them the extra time when it's 9-9-9. You know what I mean? Because you didn't really get a whole lot of work done in that first round.
Right. Or if you did, that's when you kind of crashed and burned, because you had to push the pace just to get a decent amount of time on the sled.
Yeah, which maybe that was their goal. But I love interval workouts like that, even to watch. And it was the same reason I like the Torian one. It's like I can watch what's going on in front of me where this event is.
Yeah.
You could watch that event and be like, oh, clearly Mal O'Brien is kicking the shit out of everybody, and Emma Carey is coming on strong.
Right.
You know.
Right. So event 4 was 50-foot handstand walk, 40 calorie ski, 30 deficit handstand push-up, 40 calorie ski, 50-foot handstand walk. I did like this workout. This one was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
I was thoroughly impressed by how people crushed these deficit handstand push-ups.
Yeah, a lot of them went unbroken. This is the one.
Yeah.
That was the one I think Colton Mertens did like unbroken, like super. I think Mal O'Brien went unbroken on it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. The 50-foot handstand walk I thought was like a little weird.
I agree.
I wouldn't have minded seeing that maybe get bumped up to like 60 and maybe going like 20-foot sections.
Shit, man. I thought it should have been
75.
Like 100. Let make them pay for like pushing the pace so much. Like make their shoulders hurt.
Right, because like that initial
50
feet was like not anything for them.
It's a
right. They sprint
on their hands.
Was that?
It was a sprint on their hands.
Right. I mean, it was crazy. Who was was it Paige Powers, the other the teenage female? I mean, she was taking longer strides than like I take when I walk on my feet. I'm like watching, I was like, oh my God, how are you even walking like that? And I get it. Like their shoulders are going to be fried from the ski and from the handstand push-ups going to that last one. But I would have liked to have seen them just kind of force them to reach a little bit more like 60, 75 feet or something like that, and force them to go in sections.
If you add a little bit to it, then you start to get some strategy into where, all right, let's break up the handstand push-ups. Let's not go for broke on the ski.
Right. And I like it when they put them in sections like that, and they have to decide while they're walking their hands, like,
right,
oh, can I go that distance?
Yeah. And we saw it with a couple, like the lunge event, where like some of these younger athletes make the wrong choice.
But yeah, you're right. That was plenty to just be the short, fun, entertaining one.
Yeah.
Like that was the only one they needed. They didn't need 3 more of those.
No, I agree. And that was the best one of the bunch. All right, so the next one was the back-to-back 1 and 2. First one was 33 wall balls, 22 GHDs, 11 D-ball cleans for 3 rounds, 2 minutes rest into 22 toes to bar and 11 D-ball step overs.
Yeah. That one, I had some takes on this one. For starters, I was very excited to have Chase Ingram and Tommy Marquez in the booth. I think they're both fantastic. But they kept saying, if you're tall, you have an advantage on GHD sit-ups. And I'm like, Tommy, you are 6'3". You should know better.
You know better than this.
They're like, oh, if you're tall, you have a shorter range of motion. It's like, yeah, if you're tall, you also have an additional 30 pounds of like that you're moving. Come on, Tommy. Right. We raised you better than that.
Why can't we just stop talking about the range of motion thing? Like, we get it. It's a tired conversation at this point.
Yeah.
Like, some people are shorter. They're going to be better at certain things. Whatever. Just leave it be.
Until you watch Colton Mertens do thrusters, which is like not even fair.
We can talk about his range of motion, but nobody else's.
You're not even doing the same movement, bro.
Yeah.
Like, when you're 5'2" doing dumbbell thrusters, okay. Just take your gold medal, man. Yeah, we know who's winning this one. And we know Scott Tetlow's taking second. It's the battle for third place. Yeah, that one, speaking of Colton Mertens, those D-ball cleans, and watching that with my wife, and the announcers, Chase and Tommy are like, and Colton Mertens, the first one to do touch and go D-ball cleans. And I go to my wife, I'm like, he's just flexing. Like, that's all that is. He knows damn well that is a stupid strategy. It is completely pointless. There's no reason to go touch and go on the D-ball cleans. He is just doing it to show the camera, hey, just so you guys know, D-ball cleans are so easy for me. I can do them touch and go.
I mean, yeah, it didn't work out for him. He finished pretty poorly in that event. So
anyone who's ever done a CrossFit workout could have told you, like, hey, that's probably not a good idea, man.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of this workout. You know what I didn't like was the small plexiglass target that they had, it looked very difficult to hit.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of somebody else I can comment on in their performance in this besides Colton Mertens and Mallory O'Brien. I promise I did actually watch this competition, but yeah, there really weren't a ton of takeaways.
Tim Paulson, these last 3 workouts, he did really, really well on.
Yeah.
He was pretty impressive. I'm not real high on him anymore, but he was impressive on these last 3.
Yeah. Event, the step over toes to bar event, just kind of dumb to me. I didn't understand the point of it. Like, I have no issue with a 6-minute time capped event at all, but I don't think that's the right movement combination to do it with.
You know, what was bizarre to me was the pace that like people were moving. Like, they would get off the toes to bar and like they were just walking in the street. Like, they all walk so slowly to the D-balls. I get that they're tired, but like, good Lord.
Yeah.
It's 2 rounds.
Yeah, that event surprised me too, because I thought taller athletes would do well, because I'm like, this event is just the step overs, but it didn't really appear to be the case. It was kind of a mixed bag, which was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I didn't like the back-to-back. And then the last one was called Hang On. It was a 30-calorie row, 3 legless rope climbs, 3 regular rope climbs, 9 devil presses, and a 15-yard double dumbbell overhead walking lunge with 70s and 50s.
People enjoyed this. I think when you look at it in combination with the other events of this competition, I think it was a bad event. I had no problem with this being the final. Then let's get rid of like some of the other stuff that we did in the other events.
I agree. I liked this one. I would have rather kept this one than keep some of the other ones that they did, because I thought it was an entertaining final.
It really struck me as like a Dave Castro style final.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of something that Dave Castro would program as the final event in the CrossFit Games.
I mean, it produced some pretty exciting moments, though. Like, it's to me, that's a good final. If it's a good test and it's exciting, that's a good final.
But yeah, there's a different way that story goes, where it's like Emma Carey doesn't have just like the Satan judge who's like just hammering her for even the analysts were like, yeah, they're really getting after her for like the toe drag thing. I don't know. Yeah, I felt bad for the poor girl, but she's still going to the games, and it was a good learning experience for her.
God, if she would have missed out on like the games because she finished that terribly on that workout, I would have been pretty upset.
Yeah, I would not have been chill about that either. I guess there was some sort of appeal or something that they put through for points on that, I think, too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all right. Any other last sort of takeaways from the Granite Games?
The Granite Games got me pretty excited just to keep watching these. Like, this was the first one that I've like watched the entire weekend. I thought it was well done, and I'm excited to keep watching the rest of them.
I agree. I think this format, and this isn't even like the full-fledged version of it yet. I think it's going to be much better and much more expansive next year. But I think this format so far has been fantastic, and it's got me real excited for West Coast.
I like it because there's a structure to it. Like, you know what, like, it's not just like, hey, sectional this weekend, sectional that weekend. Like, there's a structure, there's a schedule, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. So this weekend, both the European online qualifiers and Brazil. So all 3 of those are going to be online. CrossFit released the programming for it. It's going to be universal to all 3, which I think is a great idea. But if anybody's interested in checking this out, they will all be on YouTube. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving us a listen. Send us any questions you might have. I've had a few listener questions come in. Love to have some more, so we can do a listener question episode for you guys. In the meantime, give us a follow on social media. Later, everybody.